Good morning, everyone. Listen, our public schools are under assault, and this is part of a larger attack on unions and public sector workers. Kent Wong, director of the UCLA Labor Center, will present the big picture around the challenges we face. Kent has been in the forefront of the labor movement while he mentors the next generation of labor and community activists. He has been instrumental in organizing the Dreamers and has brought his latest book that is being sold outside. And you gotta check it out, because this is a great book. Kent Wong.
Good morning, UTLA. Is UTLA in the house? Thank you for that introduction, Juan. It is an honor for me to address the Leadership Conference of UTLA when 800 teacher activists get together on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. to talk about organizing power and fighting for schools that LA students deserve. You know that change is in the air. I want to congratulate Alex Caputo-Pearl and the other officers of UTLA for leading this change, but I know that it's not going to happen without each and every one of you gathered in this room working together to create the change we so desperately need. Last night was a blue moon. How many of you saw the beautiful sky? We left the LA smog, came to Palm Springs, and we saw a blue moon. Now, everyone has heard the slogan, "Once in a blue moon." And as a labor activist and a labor scholar for the past 30 years in Los Angeles, I can guarantee you that the change we are witnessing in UTLA only happens once in a blue moon. This is your time. This is your opportunity to make history. I also want to give a shout out to all of the leaders of CTA and CFT who have joined us this weekend. It is no accident that Josh Peshtalk, the president of CFT, was a leader at UTLA. It is no accident that David Goldberg and Teresa Montaño, two of the new officers of CTA, were leaders of UTLA. For the change at UTLA is having a statewide and national impact, not only for education unions, but for the future of public education in this country. Sisters and brothers, I was born in Los Angeles. I am the beneficiary of the California K-12 public education system and will forever appreciate my teachers who influenced my life. My teachers were proud members of UTLA at Ivanhoe Elementary School, King Middle School, and Marshall High School. The first time I ever learned about unions, the first time I ever walked a picket line was to support my teachers. Even then, when I was a student at King Middle School, I understood the link between the fight for respect and dignity for teachers and the fight for quality education. Today, I myself am a teacher. I teach labor studies and ethnic studies at UCLA. I direct the UCLA Labor Center, and I am a proud vice president of the California Federation of Teachers. The UCLA Labor Center has a long history of work with UTLA and the Los Angeles labor movement. A few years ago, we conducted a survey among union members of Los Angeles and learned that the #1 priority of union members is not their wages. It's not their health care. It's not their housing costs. The #1 issue for union members of Los Angeles and union members throughout the country is their kids' education. So to build a powerful labor movement, all unions must embrace the fight for quality public education. The UCLA Labor Center has conducted cutting-edge research on wage theft and minimum wage that help to advance the fight for 15 in the city and county of Los Angeles, and today we celebrate that Los Angeles is leading the nation in the fight for economic justice. $15 an hour minimum wage will benefit 40% of workers in Los Angeles. Can you imagine? 40% of workers in LA make less than $15 an hour. They make poverty wages. And that has direct impact on our children and their ability to engage and learn in our schools. Low-wage jobs mean more poverty and more hunger, where too many kids go to school without food in their stomachs. Too many of our children return home to empty apartments where both parents are out working 2 jobs to pay the rent. The UCLA Labor Center has conducted groundbreaking research on the car wash industry in LA that has resulted in 30 union victories in LA in the past 2 years. The first car wash organizing victories in the country. The UCLA Labor Center launched the city's first Black Workers Center to address the job crisis in the African American community. And we contend that the slogan, Black Lives Matter, is not just a community issue, it is a union issue. And the UCLA Labor Center has been at the forefront nationally in advancing the rights of undocumented immigrant students. We launched Dream Summer, the country's first national internship and scholarship program for undocumented students with the help of UTLA, NEA, and AFT. In the past 5 years, we have placed 500 undocumented students in summer internships with unions and social justice organizations, and we have raised $2.5 million in scholarships to allow them to pursue their educational dreams. I wanted to share with you a very short video capturing a few of the Dream Summer alumni who have gone on to become powerful young leaders.
In 2011, the Dream Resource Center created Dream Summer, a national program designed to give undocumented immigrant youth a professional internship experience to further develop their leadership skills and strengthen their connection to social justice movements.
I got a dream. One day. We gonna work it out. One day.
Many have described Dream Summer as transformative, healing, and a life-changing experience. For the first time, they felt empowered and liberated.
That's why I stand here and say I'm undocumented and I'm afraid.
My dream is to be. My dream is to be. My dream is to be free.
My name is Angelica Hernandez. I am a field representative for the California State Senate.
To a detention center in South Texas.
My name is Marco Antonio Kroga. I'm the National Field Officer at Immigration and Equality.
My name's Steve, and I'm working at a medical group here in downtown San Francisco.
My family came to the U.S. in 1991. I was 2.
I was born in Lima, Peru, and I came to the United States when I was 10 years old.
Since the age of 3, I've been undocumented. I grew up in Orlando, Florida.
Being undocumented, we face a lot of challenges.
College was really difficult because there really wasn't any resources for us at that point.
What really saved me was that one day I was on Facebook and I saw this little advertisement on my newsfeed. And it was for Dream Summer. I told my sister, I told my mom. They said that they think it's a scam. They think it's ICE trying to get your information. And I was like, well, I'm at the end of my rope.
And I applied to Dream Summer, and I luckily was selected in 2013. And I think that's where my journey really took off.
I got placed in Orlando, Florida, and my future just shot forward from there.
Through my internship at APIP, I was able to find that support and mentorship that I needed to help me with my career goal.
Dream Summer prepared me alongside Hope. They allowed me the opportunity to go ahead and work on my own research project.
Another important aspect of Dream Summer was that I was able to meet other undocumented students from around the nation.
They empowered me to feel free, to feel liberated, and to feel powerful.
We all came from different backgrounds, we all had different career goals, and that this experience connected all of us together.
I got connected to the movement through Dream Summer, and that led me to meeting the executive director at Immigration Equality.
Right after Dream Summer, I had received the opportunity to apply for a fellowship.
I got the job here at Immigration Equality, and so I moved to Washington, D.C. to lobby for immigration reform.
I am working at a medical group to provide the best quality care for patients and to reduce the cost of healthcare in the United States.
And after DC, I got the opportunity to move to New York to work closely with LGBT asylum seekers and LGBT individuals who we win relief from immigration detention centers throughout the country.
I actually ended up getting the fellowship out of all of the people who applied. I was placed in elected official's office for a period of 3 months. However, I didn't finish my 3 months because the senator really liked me the first day that we met, and he actually offered me a job. Had I not had that experience that I had through Dream Summer and through my fellowship, I wouldn't have my current position now.
Dream Summer has served as a launching pad for immigrant youth to develop their leadership, professional careers, and engagement in social justice. Since 2011, Dream Summer has transformed the lives of more than 400 immigrant youth and allies from across the nation.
Just last week, the UCLA Labor Center released our latest publication, Dreams Deported, Immigrant Youth and Families Resist Deportation, which captures the stories of undocumented immigrant students who have resisted deportation policies that have torn parents from their children, brothers from their sisters. Featured in this book is the story of Steve Lee, who was in the short documentary you just saw. Steve was a student at San Francisco City College when his family was the target of an ICE raid. His family had a double migration story. ICE deported his parents to China, but they tried to deport Steve to Peru, where he was born. Steve was held in a detention center in Arizona for 60 days, awaiting deportation to Peru, although he had no family or friends there. Through the dedication of his teachers at San Francisco City College and their union, AFT 2121, a national campaign was launched to stop his deportation, and they won Steve's freedom. Steve spoke at the CFT convention a few years ago. He graduated from UC Davis last month, and he plans to attend medical school. He is now a leading voice in the state of California, organizing for healthcare access for all immigrants. One of our courageous immigrant youth leaders is with us today, Carlos Salinas. Carlos, where are you? Can you raise your hand? Carlos is a UCLA graduate, my colleague at the UCLA Labor Center. He plans to become a math teacher, and he is undocumented and unafraid. Carlos helped us set up the first high school program for undocumented immigrant students at the Miguel Contreras Learning Complex, and is currently supervising Dream Summer interns in teacher unions in California, New Mexico, and Texas. So we are here today to ask you to use this book as a resource and to invite our immigrant youth leaders into your classrooms this fall to make presentations about the fight against deportations and for immigrant rights. So although I am very proud of the work that we do at the UCLA Labor Center, we have a few detractors. We were attacked by former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, who on 3 separate occasions reached into the UC budget and completely eliminated funding for the UCLA and UC Berkeley Labor Centers, the only programs in the UC system that serve the needs of unions and workers. We are happy to report that Schwarzenegger is gone, and the UCLA and UC Berkeley Labor Centers are here to stay. And we want to thank UTLA, the CFT, and the CTA for their support in defending our work to make sure that the public university serves the working people of the state of California, not just corporate interests. But sisters and brothers, these are challenging times for teachers, for education workers in California and throughout the country. These are challenging times for public sector unions and for civil rights, human rights, and immigrant rights. We are witnessing a national attack on public education. When I attended the K-12 schools in Los Angeles, California public schools were among the finest in the nation. With the development of the master plan under former Governor Pat Brown, California used to rank the top in the country for per pupil funding. Today, as a consequence of decades of Prop 13 and other regressive tax policies, we are in the lowest third in the nation for per pupil funding at only $9,220 per year per student. This is less than half per pupil funding for the state of New York, which is set at $19,818. $19,818. New York, California, $9,220. This is a disgrace and undermines the very future of California. In California, it costs $47,102 to incarcerate one individual in our prison system. We are spending 5 times more to incarcerate people in California prisons than we are spending for each child in our public schools. What's wrong with this picture? Why are we funding our prisons and defunding our public schools? And we can either do the right thing and pay now for quality education, or we can pay later for more prisons. The attacks on public education take the form of privatization, charter schools, school vouchers, but increasingly there are more attacks on education unions, including right-to-work laws, raiding our pensions and benefits, and undermining our collective bargaining rights. The Friedrichs case is yet another attack designed to undermine union power through crippling our ability to collect dues. But the challenge facing public education is part of the broader crisis of public sector unions. Unionization rates have gone from 35% 50 years ago to 7% in the private sector today. 35% 50 years ago, 7% today. Lower unionization rates mean lower wages, lower labor standards, but also weaker labor influence in the public policy arena. It has led to a widening divide between the 1% and the 99%. Of all developed nations, the U.S. has the widest gap between rich and poor, and of all major cities in the United States, Los Angeles has the largest gap between rich and poor. Because of falling union density in the private sector, it is now an exception, not the rule, to have health care, paid vacation and sick days, and a pension so that workers can live retirement free from poverty. But for the first time in history, there are now more public sector union members than private sector union members. And while only 7% of private sector workers are union members, 30% of public sector workers are still in unions. Let us be clear. The largest single unionized group of workers in the country are teachers and education workers. UTLA's parent unions, AFT and NEA, together dwarf all other unions in this country. So when corporations and the right wing are attacking unions, they are attacking us. This is a critical time for UTLA and the entire labor movement to forge stronger partnerships with our allies, to embrace a broader vision of social justice, of civil and human rights. UTLA is an important union in the state of California. We have members in every community. We have members who are white, African American, Latino, Asian, and Native American. We have members who are women and men, gay and straight, of all ages and all religions. Together, we have reach and we have power, but only if that power is organized. We need to build strong alliances with the rest of the labor movement to educate other unions about the fight for quality public education and to get them involved. We need to build stronger labor and community partnerships to defend public education and public sector unions. And we need to make good use of the media to get out our message and lift the voices of teachers and education workers, ourselves as advocates for social change. And we need to mobilize the vote, especially in the upcoming critical 2016 election year, where the struggle for the hearts and minds of this country will take place. Here in the state of California, we need to overturn Prop 13 and advance progressive tax policies. Brothers and sisters, it is time to make it fair. We need to organize our charter schools and bring the collective power of UTLA to every single school in Los Angeles. So as I gather here this morning, I am so proud of the new leadership of UTLA. I am so proud of each and every one of you gathered in this room to advance a collective vision for teachers, for education workers, for parents, and for our most precious resource, our children. I am so proud of the 15,000 UTLA members and allies who mobilized in Grand Park in February of this year. Brothers and sisters, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the march in Selma, Alabama. And the spirit of Dr. King lives on, and it lives on in this room. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the Delano grape strike, when grape pickers walked off their jobs and fought for a union. And the spirit of Cesar Chavez lives on and lives on in this room. Let us carry on the fight for quality public education, to defend public sector unions, to defend immigrant rights and our immigrant students, and to fight for social and economic justice. Sisters and brothers, change like this only happens once in a blue moon. This is our time. This is our moment. And let us be the change we so desperately need. Thank you.
Like a lightning bolt, your heart will glow, and when it's time, you know, you just gotta ignite.
Yeah, let's give Kent Wong a hand.
And let it shine. Just
This is why we need to continue our fight. ¿Se puede? Sí se puede. ¿Se puede? And we must continue our fight. To continue with the program, Public school accountability, sustainability, and charter education organizing is a focus of our strategic plan in the coming year. Jessica Foster has been the lead organizer on the UTLA Charter Organizing team. So let's give a hand to Jessica. It's on this side. Jessica Foster.
Thank you, Juan. So as Juan said, the title of our panel today is Public School Accountability, Public School Sustainability, and Charter Educator Organizing, which are some pretty big topics. We don't think we can get into all of them, but what we wanted to focus on this morning is really hearing the stories and experiences from 3 different teachers and union leaders in their workplaces, one from a traditional public school, one leader from a unionized charter school in UTLA, and one teacher from a charter school currently trying to organize the union in UTLA. And really hear their experiences and how they're dealing with some of these issues related to accountability, sustainability, and organizing in schools. So I'd like to introduce Adrian Tamayo from Lorena Street Elementary. Alisha Mernick, who is an art teacher at Gertz-Ressler High School in the Alliance College Ready Public School System. And Rosio, Anaya, who is the chapter chair at Pacoima Charter Elementary. So without further ado, we'd like to hear the stories each one of them have to tell about how they're dealing with these issues every day in their schools. Adrian.
Thank you. Good morning, UTLA, sisters, brothers, and guests. My name is Adrian Tamayo, and I am an East Area Board of Director. This year I began my 18th year as a special education teacher at a public school, and I'm very proud of that, at Lorena Street Elementary in Bow Heights. I'm very proud that my door, along with many of my colleagues, reads, "All students welcome, all students will learn, no matter what." We have heard many great speeches from our officers, our incredible president, and it just brings me into perspective as I lead into our Lorena story, that we are here this weekend because we believe in solidarity, the right to fight in collective bargaining, and most importantly, to stand strong for the students we serve, for the schools LA students deserve. We really are fighting for that. We stand for public education. We believe the word union means to build solidarity where it is needed and strengthen it where it is weak. Solidarity is not to foster competition among workers. This is why I support the organizing efforts of charter teachers. My hope is that this reduces or eliminates the unfair and unjust competition that the privatizers have created. My fight is not with the educators, it's with Prop 39 and the politicians and privatizers that have created this. We must recognize that the mission of many charter, not all of them, many charter management organizations does foster competition with district educators. This obviously presents a challenge in building the solidarity amongst all Los Angeles educators. Nowhere is this challenge more glaring than in a co-located school. If you are at a co-located school, as I get into our Lorena story, you will understand our pain, our anger, our discomfort that we have felt for several years now. Simply, Prop 39, for those of you that are not aware, allows charter schools to invade, pretty much, district schools and compete for the same students. Thank you. In this past year, this problem has not only doubled, it has doubled from 40 schools to over 100 schools in our district. So this problem is continuously growing. At Lorena Street School, our story is that we have lived this problem for 2 years. It was unfair from the beginning when the charter school never met the required deadlines. Prop 39 delineates deadlines and procedures. Yet the district never held this charter school, and now we see it more often. They don't hold the deadline, they don't respect the deadlines. Yet LASD allows this to happen whenever, however schools want to do this, whenever they want to do this, and to whomever, whatever school they want to do this, as long as there's empty rooms. Although we have a strong co-location council at our school, many of the negative realities get denied by, of course, the charter personnel, their CEOs or administrators. But more disturbing is that LUSD does nothing to support the district school when we sit and try to talk about how to make the co-location work. We continue to speak for our students at every co-location meeting. We stand up for ourselves as professionals, and it continues to hurt so many people. Co-location problems include, this is what we have lived at Lorena, my colleagues and I, and again, those of you that are co-located may have felt this before. There is a lack of district oversight. There is no accountability. There is no transparency. How charter schools that are co-located, with their attendance, how they operate, it's always very, very questionable. There's cherry picking for enrollment. It's very, very difficult to compete when our families are being coerced, when our families are being told negative stories about us as a public school, and it's very difficult to compete when we're in the classroom teaching and charter schools have, at the co-located sites, have people recruiting pretty much 24/7. At a co-located school at Lorena, we have many disadvantages where we have outdated technology, maybe one new computer, and the charter schools have brand new technology, brand new furniture. It's really difficult to compete with that. Food. If you compare a regular school district lunch to a charter school lunch, it is very different. And the kids notice all this, by the way. Other resources, funds. It is difficult to compete when your competitor outfunds you, out-resources you. Materialistic bribes to our communities, to our families. It is very difficult to compete when your competitor or whoever's competing against you has something in hand to bring you to their school. The rooms being given away by our district were established learning centers, computer labs, science centers, parent rooms, rooms where DIS services are given. All those rooms are considered to be empty, but we know they are very valuable to our most neediest students. Yet the district does not stand up for us, does not stand up for our neediest students. Aside from our enrollment, this competition has just created a negative environment at our school. The pain, the tears when teachers are displaced, the pain in our families when they are divided, families divided, when a sibling goes to the charter school and the special ed kids go to the district school. It is obvious, we have seen it, and it is ongoing. At the co-location council that we have, where we address how to share the campus, how to share the playground, how to share the auditorium. Those parts may logistically be easy, but at that same time, I bring out the tough questions, and I ask our counterpart, why do you demean my school? Why do families tell me, why is their school better than my Lorena Street school? Why do families ask me, how come their kids are gonna go to college and Lorena Street's kids are not? It is unfair that we have to answer those questions. And when I ask these questions to the charter operators, they don't answer them. They deny many times, and the district at the same table does nothing to support us. That is why I will continue to fight for the students I serve. I will continue to fight for the school that I work at. And most importantly, I will continue to defend myself. I will continue to stand up for myself as a public education teacher because I'm very proud of what I do. I think this is something that we need to take on as a district, citywide, and hopefully statewide, because this problem can only get worse if we don't address it. I don't want to answer any more questions when my students or students at Lorena say, Mr. Tamayo, why is their lunch better than my lunch? Why do they get the fancy lunch? That's what they call it. And I think it's time that we put an end to this academic segregation that this has created. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Adrian. We're now going to hear from Rosie from Pacoima Charter Elementary School.
Hi, my name is Rosio Anaya, and I teach at Pacoima Charter. I'm a fourth grade teacher, and I'll be starting my 10th year this coming school year. Pacoima Charter is a conversion charter, and what that means is that we used to be an LA Unified run school, and we chose to go charter. It also means that we're employed by the charter, not LAUSD, and we have our own board. And on our board, we have 3 teachers that sit and help make the decisions. When we were an LAUSD school, we were the neighborhood school, and as a charter, we continue to be the neighborhood school. We chose to go charter because the LAUSD curriculum was not servicing our community. Our community is mostly English language learners, and we're in an area that's very poverty-stricken. And we needed to be able to make decisions, to have a say in what we taught and how it was taught, how it would benefit our community. We have been a charter for quite a while, and we were always a union charter. But a few years ago, administration decided that maybe we didn't need the charter. They started telling us that we were a family. We didn't need a union. They said that UTLA was a huge union, and they didn't care about a tiny little charter out in the valley. They said that the union contract had wording that basically said they could choose to represent us. They said we were wasting our money, but a lot of us knew differently. We knew we had to keep our union, we had to keep our rights. So with the help of Mario Vasquez, Tom Alfano, Steve Klein, and Glenn Goldstein, we organized. We had meetings, and we had a lot of one-to-ones, and we were able to keep our union and to keep our rights. Shortly after that, we negotiated our very first contract, and it will expire this coming school year. So we will enter negotiations once again this coming school year. So we kept a very close watch, and we knew we had to support LAUSD teachers because what you won would help us obtain what we needed. So we helped any way we could. We were red on Tuesdays. We passed out all the flyers to keep our staff and our parents informed. We went to rallies, we went to phone banks, and now that we know what you have, it sets a line so what we as charter employees can obtain. I'm a charter teacher, but my wants and needs are no different from any LAUSD teacher. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie. We're now going to hear from Alisha Mernick, who works for Alliance College Ready Public Schools.
Okay, hi. Hello. My name is Alisha. I'm the art teacher at Gertz-Ressler High School, which is thank you. That's the first of the Alliance College Ready for Public School Charter Management Organization, which is a 26-school, 11,000 student organization in LA. Yeah, our goal is, our charter goal, our mission is to be college ready. So our graduation requirements are equal to the A through G, minimum application requirements, and we have some successes, 95% of our students go on to college. So I like my school. Thank you. Last spring, we began publicly organizing our union, and to date there's about 25% of teachers who have signed on to a petition asking for a fair and neutral process. We're organizing around typical issues due process rights. Right now we have annual contracts. We want retention of high quality staff. We're regularly seeing people uninvited back for disagreeing with administration or for voicing their concerns about policy. We want a fair evaluation system. We want class sizes to reflect what's actually written in our charter and advertised. And we want very big transparency of our school budget. And teachers on the board. We want a voice. When we decided to go public, when we made this announcement, our organization struck back hard. They've hired the same anti-union firm, basically, as Walmart had for a while. They've hired, I don't remember the name of the law firm, but it's like Proskauer Rose? Is that? Yeah, they're spending a lot of money fighting us. They've blocked our ability to email teachers about the union. They've been distributing anti-union documents and fact sheets and sending letters home and creating a website. Our school website, which our students regularly use to access homework, automatically redirects to an anti-union website. They recently went through the California Charter Association, I'm like, I don't know all these acronyms yet, to hire recent alum to phone bank parents of current students, read through an anti-union script, and then ask teachers to sign on to an anti-union petition. Hiss. They've blocked us from being on campus, they've blocked email, they're just being real jerks about it. The biggest reason that most teachers I've talked to really want to organize is to have a voice. Our central office, we call it, our CMO, is regularly handing down mandates which are very good business decisions and very poor educational decisions. For example, last year, every single math and English teacher had to throw out their own curriculums and use Pearson software. Hiss. So every kid got an iPad, which was nice because up until then we'd had 10-year-old computers. We wanted laptops. We really pushed for this because those are productive technologies instead of just consuming technology. So every kid got an iPad. Every kid was using digital curriculum instead of their regular math classes. I once had a kid tell me he missed real school. Tear, hiss. This raised a lot of suspicion because this is a really huge decision. This is impacting the classroom of hundreds of teachers, thousands of students. Why were teachers not consulted in this? It seemed weird. And then driving home from school one day on NPR, I heard about the whole LAUSD iPad scandal, and I kind of clarified something for me. I started thinking, how many different companies are profiting from our shift to Common Core? We have SBAC for the summative assessment. We have NWEA for the formative. We have Pearson for the test preparation. And then we have iPad for the technology. And we had no say in any of this. None of it is teacher vetted. And every student that I talked to hated it. Every teacher struggled to scaffold and support it. Okay, I told myself I would cut this short and I just can't because it's like so frustrating. Ultimately, I think it's really disgusting that teachers are not the ones making decisions about education. We've studied it, we do it, we're the boots on the ground, we know our kids, we can differentiate better than any algorithm. And I'm viscerally disgusted that people are profiting off of thinking they know more than we do. Viscerally. And we are struggling against a very intense anti-union campaign, but we need this. We need this not just for my charter, not just because I have to go back to school on Monday, my kids are coming on Monday, we don't have control over the calendar either, but because our profession is under attack, and if we aren't all uniting together and demanding that we get a respected voice in our profession, we're not going to get it. Nobody's going to give it to us. Like, I'm excited that I was invited to be here. I'm excited that I've been getting so much support from UTLA, and I'm really excited to, God willing, hopefully, get to be a part of this union so that we can have some solidarity and really take back our profession.
Great. Thank you to each one of you for telling your story. We don't have a lot of time, and the issues of accountability and sustainability and organizing are pretty complex ones, but just to wrap up the panel, we've heard about co-location, which is really a competition for space, resources, students, pitting students against students, families against families, teachers against teachers, right? We've heard about fighting for the same contract standards and trying to defeat the race to the bottom, with Pacoima supporting negotiations and LAUSD seeing a very clear connection, and of course, teachers who are bravely trying to organize at the Alliance against a very corporate charter management organization. And just to wrap up, I'd just like to ask each panelist, hearing each other's stories, having only met each other a few days ago, what most surprised each one of you, or what's the biggest takeaway hearing from the other folks on stage? I guess, Adrian, I'll start with you if you want to talk about that.
Well, what I have learned, and you're right, in these few days, number one, it just embeds deeper in my heart and my mind why I'm proud to be a union member and why I'm proud to have a voice. But I have learned and I have recognized that the needs of charter school teachers are as valuable as mine as a public educator, and I truly just support this. And I also know that a lot of charter school teachers are our own brothers and sisters that were laid off or riffed, many years ago. So I just have grown so much these last few days over what our conversations.
Great, thank you. And Rosie, biggest surprise or takeaway from the other stories you've heard?
I was very affected by Adrian's struggle to live with another charter. When you're a charter, it is your own little world, but we are aware of everything that happens around us. But it was very humbling to see how they struggle to coexist next to a charter. And it seems strange to us because as a charter, we're a close, united teaching group. And it's something that you wish for everyone. It's something that you see and you say, oh, I wish that they could see how it could work. But seeing how every LAUSD teachers uniting and coming forth and working for each other, that gave me a lot of hope in that we could all unite, and that maybe soon we will just be UTLA teachers, not charter versus LAUSD.
Thank you. Alisha?
I learned a lot this week. And maybe this is unbelievable, I didn't realize that there was any animosity towards charter teachers. I just thought everybody recognized that CMOs are intense and that we just needed jobs. So talking with you, I learned a little bit about that kind of the history of animosity and how we're just starting to move past that, which is very healthy. I'm glad that that's happening. I also was incredibly jealous hearing about how her school functions, where she's a charter school that still has district lines drawn, so they're not competing over students at all. And teachers are on the boards. Teachers are making decisions. Like, when I think of what a charter school is, like, that's the fairy tale storybook of what it is. It's a small management group composed of teachers managing how education works at their school. That's a dream to me. I love that. Fingers crossed for it.
And I think we're almost. Thank you. I think just to kind of wrap up, I believe we're almost out of time, is, you know, as we enter, I want to thank each one of the panelists for sharing their story today. I think these are some very important subjects. We heard Alex speak about them last night. We heard Kent Wong speak about it this morning. But I don't think anyone on this panel would disagree that, you know, there are tensions, right? But what we all know is that there are forces really trying to create a competition within public education, right? And that the forces of whether it's Broad or Arnold or the Waltons or Pearson or anybody else, and whether it's around co-location, competition for resources, students, defunding public education, teachers trying to gain basic rights, whatever the subheading of those ideas are, I think everyone on this panel and the stories really demonstrate and would agree that as teachers, right, as teachers, counselors, health and human service professionals, that we all have more in common with each other than we do with our employers, right? And as we try to figure those things out together, that it's important that we think about it in that frame, and that what we can't do is let them successfully put us in competition with each other, right? So I want to thank each one of the panelists for sharing their stories that really demonstrate that today.